Ms. Shani Curry St. Bill is the owner and CEO of Person Empowerment, which is a very, very powerful movement. She don't know it, but I follow what she do. All right, I follow what she does. I watch her videos online and stuff like that. And it's very insightful. It's very enlightening. And I try to emulate the principles that she gives out. Amen. And she says a lot of stuff that I said to you guys even today in the service today. So I want to make sure that I brought in the source. You know what I'm saying? Because it don't make no sense for you to just get the secondary. I want you to get the source. Amen. So again, give her another hand. She didn't have to come, but we want to make sure that we show her that we appreciate her coming. Amen. She didn't have to come. So Shani, as a financial expert, what is it that exactly that you do, and what is your mission for a person empowerment?
I come from a banking background. I have a banking background. I worked in the bank for about 5 years and combined a decade of just working in finances overall. I've worked with mortgages. I've worked with real estate. I've worked with insurance. I worked with credit. I even sold cars. And all of that just puts me in front of understanding how the mighty dollar works. The mission and the goal of person empowerment is to make the conversation of money very functional and also very understanding and relatable to specifically women. I talk to men, I do have some male clients, but I specifically target women. Most of the financial books that I've read myself, somehow they speak in a language that are specific towards men, because typically men are the ones that, generate more money. They're the breadwinners, whatever the case may be. But however, women are the ones that make decisions about money. And sometimes they think that the only thing that we necessarily care about is how we look. Well, stats do support that women do spend a lot of money on personal care more than any other demographic. Black women spend the most on, hair care, weave, outfits. That's a large portion of that. And how you look is a part of your purse. It is very important. It's just that for it to be more balanced. So the mission and goal of person empowerment is to make the conversation of money very functional, very easy, and very relatable.
Okay, all right. Now, because a lot of us in 2013, even in the past few years, we find ourselves getting into debt because we're trying to basically get paid by Peter to pay Paul. You see what I'm saying? And some of us have gotten into debt with credit cards and payday loans and different things like that. What are some things that we can do to cut down that debt? What are some practical things that we can do to start doing that type of stuff in 2014?
So I'll talk from a very functional place. I don't like to really necessarily speak from a place of like, I know everything and, the people that I'm talking to don't know anything, because I'm in it too. Just because I understand the movement and I've made some good choices doesn't necessarily mean that I don't have struggles, I don't have challenges. I'm not where you are. I'm just sitting up here talking about where I am, which doesn't make it any different, because the way that the system has been created, it has been created for us to fail financially. That's the way that the system is, for us to always work for someone else, for us to always buy things outside of our community, for us to always, have to travel out of our community for everything. So I'm not outside of it at all. I just happen to have, a couple better coping skills than maybe some of the other people around me. To answer your questions in terms of debt, one of the first things that you can do is just know who you owe. That's the first thing. And most people, I've been through some situations in my life where I don't want to know who I owe. I don't want to know, because if I know, I got to pay him. But if you're really serious about somehow climbing out of where you are, and sometimes it's not always about yourself, because you yourself, depending on where you are, and I hate to say this, but it's just the reality, this may be your life. You might have done enough to yourself, well, this is it. But what I think about is you don't want to pass that same thing on to your children. You want to pass them some better skills. You may never become Oprah. Okay, accept that. That's not going to happen. You may never become, Tyrese, or throw basketballs and make millions of dollars. But there is a functional way for you to begin to live. One, so that you can have a decent subsistence, and two, so that you can pass along some good habits. And maybe your child may come into the $1 million idea. Who knows? But if they do come into the $1 million idea, if you haven't modeled any skill sets on how to manage that $1 million, they're going to be right back in the same the same state that you were. So the first thing is to just know who you owe. So one of the challenges when you get home, just look through all the bills you've been ignoring and just write them down. Write them down, know who you owe. And then the second thing that you can do after you know who you owe, you can just call them and say, what's my interest rate? Whichever one of those companies has the highest interest rate, that's the one that you start paying. That's the one that you pay, the most to. And that's just some of the just basic debt management. And again, the thing is for me, because I'm entrepreneurial, I don't clock into somebody's job all the time. So my income is constantly going up and down. It goes through all these different roller coasters. But the thing is that if, let's say I lose everything, it's a joke. Nobody buys any books. Nobody pays for any speeches, blah, blah, blah. I don't make a whole lot of money within that 3 months realm. Let's say no good. What you do is you start over from that first $100. That's it. Some people are like, well, I don't have enough money to manage. You start from where you are. If all you have is pennies, you start with those pennies. You put them in a piggy bank, you start them there. When you see those pennies turn to $100, you take that $100 and now you can go open up a bank account. Make sure that it doesn't have any annual fees. They're not going to take, I've worked in the bank. So usually when you put that $100 in, we're going to take out $20 off top. So you're really starting with 80. You don't need that. You need a free account that's going to let you save. And then you'll see that. And then when you start doing those different senior debt, once you get to that first $100, then you feel motivated. Maybe I can get 2, maybe 3, maybe 4, maybe 5, maybe 10. And that's how it starts over. That's how it starts. Just start where you are. Don't ever think that, I don't have enough money to save. Start with $10. Start with where you are. Some people say, well, they want to be millionaires. Well, you can't be a millionaire. It doesn't start like that. It just doesn't. A lot of people who are millionaires, their parents pass along some money to them. Maybe you can pass along some money to your children. Great. But as for you in your life, you have to do some basic systems to get you to where it is that you want to go.
Okay. As a financial expert, because, through your 10 years of working in the bank and different things like that, what are some common mistakes you've seen the lay person make as far as their finances?
One, the biggest mistake that I've seen with specific demographics is not thinking that they have enough money to manage. So they just blow through everything because they're like, I ain't got no money anyway. So they just blow through everything. That's how they roll. Mm-hmm. And that's one of the common mistakes. And the thing is, if you don't begin to just change, one habit per year or one habit per month, then you just pass along that purse of poverty yet again. Mm-hmm. So that's number one. Number two, people spend money that they don't have to impress people that don't like them anyway. That's one of the big things that they do, no matter what. That's what they do. That's what they do. And they overdraft, and they overdraft, and they overdraft, and they overdraft. So that's the second thing that I find with people, that they overdraft. So one is, what's the first thing?
That
they don't think they have enough money
to manage.
2,
that they spend money to impress people that don't like them anyway.
Exactly. And the third thing that I see with the common mistake with people is, once some people have gotten to a place of, let's say they're past that $500 mark, they're past that $5,000 mark, but they don't want to do any investing, because it took them that long to get to it. So they're scared. So once they even come into some money, they're not educated enough and they're not willing to take any risk in order to make that money grow. And that's where person empowerment comes in terms of just holding your hand wherever you are.